All right, so we've got the animations, and that's working fine. But we need to do is actually control those animations. So to do that, we have to make a like a flow chart. And there's a thing called the animator. All right, so if you actually look on the player graphic, you'll see that it automatically creates this animator, and that basically controls the animations. It's sort of like the driver of them. Okay, so again, if you don't have this window, just go to Window, Animation, Animator, and then you'll see it here. You have to have the, oh, it's showing them no matter what. Sometimes what will happen is it won't show up, and you have to actually have the graphic showed up in order for it to show up here. So, like the thing that has the animation. So just make sure that that's selected. Okay. So we only have 3, so this will be a little bit easier. And so we just have these 3. So we're going to put entry here. So entry just means when it's going to start. So it's going to start here, and this is the first one it's going to run. So by default, this is the default one. If for some reason it's on the wrong one, let's say it's on walk, just right click, and you could do, where is it? Set as default state, and that will be the starting one. So just right click, set as default state. There you go. All right. So it should be player idle, and then we'll just do this like triangular thing. This is what we're worried about. All right. Okay, so what we're going to do is you need to make transitions from one to the next. So I'm just going to right click, make transition. This little arrow is going to come up, so we can go from player idle to a walk, right? That's possible. We can also go from walking back to player idle. So make transition to back, right? Because I can go to walk. If I stop walking, I'm going to go back to idle. I can also go from player walk, or actually, I can also go from idle to jumping, right? I can stand and jump. And when I'm done jumping, when I come back down, I can go back to idle. It is also possible to go from player walk, right? I can be walking to jumping, and from jumping to walking, or from jumping back to walking, right? So obviously I could be running, jump, and just keep running. So basically we can get to each of these in their own way. All right. Now the way it works is that you basically, right now, it's not going to go anywhere, because we made it that it can transition from here to here, but we have to say what are the conditions, what needs to happen in order for that to occur. So for that, we need to make some parameters. So you'll see there's layers and parameters. So on the parameters, at the little plus, and we're going to make a float. So basically, these are variables that we can change, and when that variable becomes whatever we want it to, it will make the transition. So I'm going to do one that's a float, and we'll just put this, I'm going to call it x speed, okay? So basically my speed walking back and forth, okay? So x speed. I'm going to make another one, and we're going to make this a bool, and we're going to call this one, we'll call this one air. So whether we're in the air or not, okay? Good. Yay. All right, so some of these are pretty obvious. So x speed. So what I want to do is that if I'm idle, see the arrow's going this way. So to go from here to here, I'm going to click on this transition. And we're going to say, okay, if my x speed is greater than, we're going to say 0.1, right? So if I'm moving a tenth speed, I guess, you're going to go that way. All right, that makes sense. And then to come back from walk, right, I'm going to go ahead and do x speed, but I'm going to say if it's less than 0.1. So now basically it has to go to 0.1, but if you become so slow, it'll go back to idle. All right, and you can play with that number. It might need to be higher or lower depending on like how fast your character's moving and what have you. All right, now to go from player idle to jump, I'm going to need to be not speed, but air, and I want that to be true. So if I'm in the air, that's true, then it goes into player jump, and to go not to that, not speed, but air, I want it to be false. So if I'm not in the air, again, makes sense. All right. Now, what I want to have in here, to go from player jump to player walk, or I'm sorry, we'll do player walk to player jump, right? That has to be, again, air, and we want that to be true. And to go back, air, I want that to be false. All right. Now, that's not going to really work, because what you're going to notice is that air false goes to player walk, but air false also goes to idle. So there's obviously a difference between these two. We actually have to add those other, the other conditions. So To go from player idle to player jump, I want air to be true, but let's go ahead and also do x speed is less than 0.01. So basically we're not moving, right? Actually, you know what? Let's see, let's actually, I don't think I need that. Let's leave that one alone. But to go from player jump back to player idle, I'm going to need to basically be jumping, and then x speed I need less than 0.01. So that way, in order to come back, I need to be not moving, okay? But let's say we went up to jump, and then we are moving. I'm going to need x speed greater than 0.01. So basically, if it's less than 0.01, it's going to go over here. But if it's greater than 0.01, it's going to go from walk if he's not in the air. That should... So here to going in the air is true. You just got to make sure that, right, x speed. That should work. We might have to add the other variables on this as well. Okay, so we're going to call that good for now. I might need to fix some of that. So we have these variables here. Again, this still isn't going to work because there's nothing changing these variables currently. So to do that, we're going to have to use code. So go to Project, Scripts, and I want you to open up the player controller script. And badoomp. And let's close all this business out. Okay, so we're going to have to add some variables in order to control some of our things. So up here, I want to add the animator. So we're going to do private animator, because that's the thing that we're animator. I think did I spell that right? It looks weird to me for some reason. Animator. And let's call it player animator. Okay. Semicolon. And that's just basically so we can get access to this animator, which will allow us to get access to these variables. Okay, because that's attached to this. Okay, so player animator, because we need to be able to get access to it. And then is that all I need? I'm trying to think. I think it is all I need, actually. So that's how we're going to get access to it. And then what we're going to do is we are going to make a new function. So I'm just going to go all the way back down to the bottom after our jump function here. And I'm just going to go ahead and do a player animator one. So I'm just going to call it void, capital play anim. And this is just going to handle all of our animation, okay? So what we're going to say is the player animator, which, oh, you know what? I don't have access to it yet. I gotta grab that first. So inside of start here, just go ahead and do player animator, and we're going to give it to get component in children, okay? And that'll be animator like that. Now it's get component in children because, again, if you look here, that script, that player controller script, if this pops up at any point, it's on player graphic. Come on, there you go. It's on where is the player controller script? It's on this. I need to get to the animators on this, so it's in its children. So that's why we have to do get component in children and not just get component like we did for some of these other ones, which were pushing us around. The graphics, the thing that has the animator on it. Okay, so now we have access to it. Sorry, occurred to me afterwards. Okay, so we're gonna do player animator. We're gonna do set bool. This is just like a built-in function, and the bool I want to set is gonna be. Did I call it air? Maybe I called it in air. What was that called? Air. Okay, air. So that's the thing that I want to set. I'm gonna set it equal to the value of not ground. So basically, if we're not on the ground, that's the value it's going to put in there. So whatever ground is going to be the opposite. All right. So basically, because if we're not on the ground, then we're obviously in the air. So it's going to be one or the other. So basically, this is the parameter that we're going to select, which we wrote, which if you remember, its name is air, and it's it's going to be looking for a bool. And if you remember, ground is a bool, and we're testing for that constantly. So basically, that's just going to set that to on and off for us. And then the other one we're going to need is player animator dot, and this one's going to be set float, and the float we're going to be setting is x speed, because remember that was the variable name we gave it, and the value we're going to give this is going to be this. It's going to be input dot get axis, and the axis we want to get is horizontal, like so, and put a semicolon on the end. Okay, so what that means is that it's going to take our input of our horizontal axis, so our left and right buttons, or if we're using a joystick or whatever, but basically whatever our left and right thing is, it's going to put in there. This is actually not going to work, and here's the reason why. We have to do one other thing to it, but I'll show you up here. The reason why this isn't going to work is that if you look, all of our transitions say if here we go, if x speed is greater, right? Well, that doesn't really work, does it? Because let's say that's going to be, if I'm pushing to the right, it's going to work, but if I push to the left, you remember on the horizontal axis, +1 is to the right, and then -1 will be to the left. So it's not going to work for us to go left. It's only going to work right. So we're going to throw in like a math function on top of this. So we're going to say the math f dot abs, and then put parentheses around this thing. So what it's going to do, okay, try that again. There you go. What it's going to do is it's going to take what this is in here, whatever our horizontal axis, and then give us the absolute value. So even if it's a -1, or -0.2 or something, it's going to make it a +0.2. So it's going to take off, or if it's positive, it's just going to keep it positive. So that basically is just a way of always making it that way. So now this still isn't going to work because we have this function, but it never gets called. So just inside of the update, here we go. Inside of the update, we just want to run that function. So just do player anim, or actually, what did I name? Did I name it play anim? I did name it play. Do player anim. That's kind of a weird. Okay, player anim, like this, and that way, it'll run this function on every update, every rendered frame. Now save it. Go back here. Keep your fingers crossed that it doesn't have any weird errors. Click on console. Okay, and let's go back to game and let's hit play. And it's not going to work quite right. You're going to see in a second. It will work, but it's going to be delayed. Okay, so like watch. See how like it took a while for the jump and then it took a while for that to end? It takes a while for it to start. Come on, there it goes. And then all of a sudden, so the reason why is that one of the things that Uni has built into it is that you can have this has exit time. It just basically means that no matter what, the animation is going to play a certain amount of it. So you just want to go through and uncheck all of these. Might need to uncheck some other stuff too, but we'll start with this. And there's also this transition here, so take that off. But I think we might be good there. Okay, let's hit play and see if that's enough. If not, I'm gonna have to squash some of the other stuff as well. Still a little bit of delay because it tries to blend them. So let's see if this will help as well. So let's go here and then fix duration. Now just take this and snap this all the way. Just zero all of these out basically. Boom, 0, 0, 0, and 0. Okay, so we're making kind of a snappy animation. There's not going to be any transition. This is particularly useful if you're doing like a 3D animation where they will actually blend the keyframes of the motions. But with 2D animation, or at least the ones that I'm doing, it's just sprites. So there's not really going to blend between one sprite and another. If there was a joint system, it could handle that, but it can't handle that in this case. So now if we hit play, this should probably be a little bit snappier. So now you'll see as soon as I push it, it starts going into it. There's no delay. Okay. And looks like I died again. I'm bad at my own game. I'm really bad at my game. Okay. I think I made its kill box too large. There we go. Oh. Anyway, let's cut myself. All right. So, yeah. So now we have the animations, and they're generally working okay. Whee! And that's basically it. So you should have your animations rocking and rolling at this point. Now, what I did is I just did like these couple. Obviously, you probably are going to have much more robust, and you can work on that. But at least gives you an idea of how to work it. You just basically apply the same principles to multiple animations.